Hey guys, how's it going? So today I wanted to talk about special needs homeschooling. It's not a topic there's a lot of information on. In fact, I have floundered the last few years, and I feel like we've finally fallen into a rhythm with things. I figured things out because I was making one major mistake. Now, first of all, if you guys don't know, I'm Toni. Our youngest son, Micah, has a mutation that causes a series of delays, including intellectual disability. He is 8.5. Functionally, he's about 3 or 4. So, but why am I in my van? I don't have any curriculum here to talk to you guys about. Because, guys, I'm not trying to sell you on any curriculum, and I have absolutely nothing to actually show you. You're going to understand why here in a second. This topic's actually been coming up a lot lately, and I feel like this is something that God's really put in my path because a couple of years ago, I was the one looking for these options. I was trying to figure out how to navigate this, and I was asking all the people who had been down the road before me, but they hadn't done any special needs homeschooling. And the ones that I knew had either had very different needs. Well, let's just go with that. Their kids just had very different needs than Micah. And so it looked different. But what I found as I was asking these questions and I was doing search and I was trying to find what our options were going to be for him, I really started coming to the realization, first of all, I was panicking. I'm like, there's no curriculum. There's nothing that tells me how to teach him. Guys, you want to know why? Because every single one of our kids, whether they are neurotypical or have special needs or whatever in between, they're all individuals. What is the first thing we do as homeschooling parents? We meet our kids' needs. If our kid is struggling in a subject, do we push them through and say, well, we got to keep moving anyhow, like they do in the public schools? No, we don't. We make sure that our kids are understanding what we're teaching them, which is why you find so many homeschool kids on such varying levels of subjects. That's why I currently have a 6th grader who's doing high school level math, but just at his grade level for 6th grade for writing, because he absolutely hates writing. And so he does not work ahead in that at all. It's what we do, guys. We meet their needs. So that's, first of all, why there's no specific special needs curriculum. Now, if you have a child who has dyslexia or something like that, yes, there are tutoring programs. Yes, you can find information on how to do some of that yourself at home. Is it a one-size-fits-all, though? No, it's still not. You still need to meet their individual needs. So when I started this and I was looking and I was trying to figure out like what I was missing and what I needed to get, I really quickly realized I needed to step back. I needed to look at Micah and figure out where he was at and what skills we needed to work on. Because Micah is not your average kid. And those of you who have been watching know that he's his own person. He does his own thing. There are areas he is incredibly intelligent. There are things he can say that make him sound like he just is so well-spoken and knows these things. But that's actually where he tricks people. Micah's speech is also rather delayed. But Micah, when he started speaking, I have since learned in the recent years that the learning style for his speech is called Gestalt language learning. And it means he did not learn to speak like most of us did, with starting sounds and individual words and then piecing things together as we grew. Instead, he actually learned how to speak in phrases that he picked up, but could perfectly time them and place them. It was crazy. And he could say them so well, but then he couldn't say just basic words in an intelligible way. So what I really had to realize is that if his language was that way, his learning in general might be that way, where he's going to learn in chunks, and then he can break those chunks down to learn other pieces and start putting it together. Because now Micah can put speech together, formulate sentences, and have a conversation. Is it at his age level? No, because functionally he's a 3 or 4-year-old. So his speech actually reflects that fact. But now he can use individual words to put together a statement or a phrase or a question. So that is exactly how I started looking at his learning style. And what I have really come to learn and embrace is I cannot teach him in a linear way. I cannot just teach him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and expect him to know his numbers. Now, guess what? He does finally know how to count to 10. But that's because I did not teach them to him in order. We've done a lot of forward and back counting because I had to find the things that Micah likes, that Micah wants. One thing that Micah became interested in, and yes, I'm saying his name a lot, I get that, is days. He wanted to know how many days until this, how many days until that, because he needed to know what to expect in the coming future. We have certain days that he looks forward to, whether it's Wednesday night children's church, whether it's church on Sundays, whether it's Saturday morning cartoons. He has things he looks forward to, and he wanted to know how many days until those events. And that's actually how we've gotten him to count to 10. Now, I've not been able to get him past that. He can automatically say up to 12 or 13 sometimes. He cannot recognize those numbers. He can now recognize every number from 0 to 10, which is huge. Again, alphabet is the same thing. Getting him to say his ABCs, forget it. It is not happening. But getting him to spell things, he's doing it. He can tell you what the letters are. We're kind of figuring out how to get him to remember the sounds for those letters. That will come. But he can verbally spell his name. He can spell mom. He can spell no. There's a few things like that. Like a lot of little kids who are first learning, when they want to start writing certain things. So that's what we are doing, is we are embracing that. Now, the other part of it is I've learned he needs a lot of repetition. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. But he's also a very visual learner, but not book and paper. So I have completely broken all of our standards that we use with all of our other kids. We do not do a lot of computer work. I want our kids to do book work. It's important for them to learn those skills and to not rely on the internet and everything being at your fingertips. They're practicing their handwriting and their penmanship. They are learning how to use a physical dictionary. All of those things are standards in our house. But Micah gets things more visually and with fun sounds and everything. And I can't always do it. So we pay for a subscription to Starfall. And he will sit down, and I actually attribute some of his additional number pickup and everything to that. I also own multiple copies of the same workbooks. That's because I am trying to get him to continue practicing writing. It is very hard for him to hold a pencil. His hands just don't work the same. It is very hard for him to rotate his wrist in a way that allows him to do that. So everything is full arm movement when he's writing. But by owning multiple copies, we can repeat those pages over and over. We can't just cover the basic letter pages and then move on to the next letter. He needs more repetition. Plus, when he's showing interest in an individual letter, I need to be able to go to that letter and hone in on it, because that's also how he learns. So, guys, that's what I'm trying to get across here. I don't have anything to show you because I've had to find the books that have the things that work for him. I've had to buy multiple copies of those books. I am using computer subscriptions. Starfall, he loves Prodigy. It is way over his head, but he doesn't seem to understand that fact, and he loves trying. I am never going to stop a child from trying when they want to. It is also why it drives me absolutely nuts when I hear teachers or public schools talk about reading levels and kids needing to read in their reading level. No, if a kid wants to try to read a bigger book, let them. You tell them they can't, and guess what you're going to do? You're going to kill that love or that interest for trying. So let them read the bigger books. They're comfortable with the smaller books? Okay, guess what? They're eventually going to get bored with them. You guys keep hearing my phone go off, so I apologize for that. Let them do what works, but figure out how to make it work for what you also need them to be doing. That's the biggest key. That is for every child, no matter their learning level. So when it comes to special needs homeschooling, you do the exact same thing. It just may look different. Now, we also get a lot of pressure from professionals about, if you put them in school, they can receive all these services and everything else. Here is my challenge to that. Show me any service that they can provide in a public school setting that we cannot find and provide privately. Now explain to me how being in a classroom setting for those services is going to be better than the individualized one-on-one directed therapy that they receive when we do it privately. Because Micah has received his fair share of speech, physical therapy, occupational therapy throughout the years. He has. We do it in increments because he tends to get overwhelmed and quit showing progress, so we give him a break. Sometimes that break has coincided with insurance changes, so it just works out. Sometimes it's because he just needed it. But we give it to him. So in classic fashion, my battery actually died while I was recording that. I had paused it for a second to deal with the text that had come through, and because my camera can only record in certain lengths. And so, change of scenery a little bit. I'm still in the van. But picking up where I left off, I had to go back and watch so that I could see it. And I know I was telling you guys right there that you literally just watched about services and receiving them privately versus in the public school setting. I know people are then going to jump on the socialization bandwagon. Okay, well, here's the thing with that too. Socialization is only as good as what you give them. Micah, in our case, the last thing he needs is to be in a classroom full of peers with poor behavior and poor judgment, because he mimics everything he is surrounded by without hardly any understanding of exactly what it is he's doing or saying. It's the same reason we have to heavily monitor what he watches on TV, what kind of games he's playing, and things like that. Because of his learning style and his personality, it can very quickly spiral. So why, again, would I put him in a classroom with any kids that have poor behavior? And I'm saying it that way because we all know that it doesn't matter how good a classroom is, there's always going to be at least one or two kids that are struggling behaviorally. Now, half the time, that would probably be Micah too. But he will pick up on any other behaviors. He will be learning all the wrong things at school while struggling to learn what he is. So that is my take on special needs homeschooling. I know if you're like me, you were looking for that magic answer, for that special curriculum that exists that's going to just give you that edge and lay everything out for you. Guys, just like whatever brought you to special needs homeschooling, there's nothing that's just laid out like that. Life is something that we have to walk through day by day, figuring out how to best meet the needs of our children, and this is no different. What I can tell you, though, is it absolutely can be done. Do not let them deter you from that. And just remember, you know your kid better than anybody else. You spend more time with them and are there to recognize how they're learning things, what kind of things they're picking up on, and all of those little intricacies that may be missed or take way too long to notice in a different school setting. So don't let it scare you. I know it's daunting, but I promise you've got this. You can do all the hard things. I promise you can. And in the meantime, too, you guys can always look for co-ops and other things, too, that might benefit you on the side, because that is something we do. We've been anti-co-op in the past, but I did find one recently that's local to us that runs a little differently. You have to find the right fit. Most co-ops, especially, I'm telling you guys this up front here now, when it comes to special needs homeschooling, avoid things like classical conversations or anything similar. It is nothing against that style or that setup, but there is so much rote memorization. There is so much intense structure that is intended for neurotypical average learning kids or above learning kids even, not kids who struggle, not kids who have additional needs to meet. So find a co-op that's more of a social group than a learning group. You will still be learning things. That's the great thing about it. But it will give time around, It will give time around peers. So for anybody who wants to say, but how are they going to learn how to interact with others? That's how. You put them around others. It's not that hard. You can go to the park and play with kids. You can go to the library and participate in a group. Go to church and participate in children's church. There's so many ways to be around people. I promise. Just like any other homeschooler, they will be okay in that area too. So if you guys have any questions about anything I've said or anything to add to the topic, please feel free to leave it in the comment section down below. If it's any negative comments or anything like that, you can feel free to keep them to yourself, because I've got some decent filters and I'm not afraid to delete things if you get ugly, because I know that this can be a touchy topic and there's a lot of opinions that float around out there that aren't relevant. That's just what it is. I think I'm just feeling a little salty and spicy right now and just don't feel like putting up with it. So that's your heads up. I really hope, though, that you guys got some great information from this, something that helps you, if nothing else, gives you the strength to push forward and do what needs to be done. And in the meantime, I really hope that you guys are having a blessed day. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss everything else coming up next. And I'll see you in the next one.